Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the Clarity Challenge. Today we're going to take our last conversation starter one step further. The question is, have you ever struggled with being single? I know that for most of us, it's not just have you ever struggled, we are still in the struggle. My take is that being single does not need to be a struggle. Being single needs to be maximized. It needs to be celebrated. We need to take full advantage of it so that by the time we go into marriage, it will be that we were truly single and now we're ready to be married. For a lot of us, being single has led to a lot of psychological, mental, and emotional struggle. A lot of us are dealing with depression. A lot of us have lost focus and direction in life just because we think that what is essentially wrong with us is that we are single, we are unmarried. In that sense, we make it look like there is something fundamentally wrong with being single. And unless we deal with that perception of life, we're not able to maximize our singlehood or singleness. And then it means we're also not ready to do marriage. And so during our previous video, we've dealt with two things. Number one, we've dealt with the misconceptions of singleness, and then we've tried to properly define, look at what it means to be single. If anything, we've established that being single does not necessarily mean that we should be lonely. No, 1,000 times no. We've said that a lot of the things that we are not able to do or accomplish is because we think that unless we are married, we can't accomplish those things. We can't receive. We can't be beneficiaries of those things as long as we are single. So our definition of being single is that being single means that we are unmarried. But listen to this, there are a lot of married people. As a matter of fact, like somebody posited on the platform, it is important that even after you are married, you retain your singleness. You retain your individuality. You retain your identity. It's profound. So being single does not necessarily mean being unmarried. No, it's beyond that. Therefore, as a person that is not yet married, it is important that you don't become a lone ranger. It's important that you take advantage of the community of people that are around you and still fulfill life, purpose, and destiny. We also looked at what it means to be single, and then we said that being single means that you are not divided. It means that you are intact, unbroken, undivided, yet you're consisting of a separate, unified whole. As a matter of fact, someone said singleness is a disposition, and it needs to be enjoyed even after marriage. Profound statement. So being single depicts that you are an independent whole number that is complete by itself. You are whole, you are complete, you are intact, all by yourself. So it has to do with individuality, it has to do with authenticity. And then we shared some of the things that people shared in the class that helps them to deal with that sense of depression, that sense of a loss of focus, that sense of loss of energy, enthusiasm, and motivation in life when the reality of being alone begins to dawn on them and be amplified as they do life. But for today, we want to take this one step further. And one of the first things I want to quickly say that the truth is, it is not always easy to be single. It is not always easy to be unmarried. The truth is, every stage in life carries with it its own challenges. Of course, being married also carries with it its own challenges. So in defining singleness, in dealing with all that has to do with singleness, in talking about struggling to be with being single, we must come to terms with the fact that it's of course not easy being single. If you're going to deal with that and overcome it, then you must be intentional. Now, having said that, it is, however, important to balance it up by saying, even though it is not easy to be single, it is important that you know how to be single. This is profound. It's important that you know how to be single. That's the only way to be ready to be married. It takes two people who are truly single to enjoy a happy marriage. So, take it from me. There's a battle. There's something there are things you have to deal with. Being single, it's a battle by itself. But then, being prepared is half the battle. You must accept the battle. You must be realistic. You can't deny the fact that there are battles you must fight, but you must be prepared for the battle. And as long as you are prepared, when preparedness meets opportunity, the outcome is called a miracle. So this is so important. And how do you prepare? Being informed is, about what you are likely to face. And that's what we want to share today. Being informed about what you are likely to face in the journey of being single, if you ask me, is the best way to prepare to meet whatever challenges head on that show themselves, and then to conquer them as easily as it is possible to conquer them. So I'll begin to discuss quickly one of the first challenges that you're going to deal with because you are single. One of the first challenges you're going to deal with as a single. Now, understand that singleness is a blessing. It's a blessing. It's an incredible blessing, and we need to maximize it. If we are going to maximize our singleness, then we must learn how to fight loneliness. That's the first challenge you got to deal with. Fight loneliness. I am not saying that being single automatically means you must deal with loneliness. Let me guarantee you that there are a lot of married people who are still battling with loneliness. One of the first mistakes you can make is to think that being married is a magic wand that is going to contain and deal with loneliness in your life. It is the reason why you need to be truly single. When you become truly single, for you to be said to be truly single, it means that you have so attained individuality and authenticity that loneliness is no longer a factor as you do life. To be said to be truly single, to be said to have attained intactness, wholeness, undividedness, to be said to be someone who has attained complete, whole, healthy individuality and completeness, then one of the things you should be said to have defeated, overcome, and mastered is loneliness. Being alone does not necessarily need to equal being lonely. Sadly, a lot of married people are still lonely. I'm amazed at how people live in a community of people and they're lonely. I'm amazed at how people belong to a class. You are in school, you have 50 people in your class. You are in a family, there are 7 people in your family. You work in a place, there are 10 workers in the office. You go to church, you are in a choir, there are 70 people in the choir, there are 10 people in the choir, and you are still lonely. What that reveals is that there is a mental state that you need to deal with. There is an emotional health issue that you need to deal with. There is a social development issue that you need to deal with. And you need to deal with it. Because if you don't deal with it and you take it into marriage, your loneliness will be amplified. And that will lead to frustration. It will lead to disappointment. It will lead to disillusionment. And it will mess up the entire marital experience. To be truly single, aloneness cannot mean loneliness. Never. So you need to be able to outgrow that. Let me say this for the purpose of balancing my discussion. Number one, wanting companionship, whether it is physical, whether it is emotional, is one of the most natural feelings for any human being to have or to desire. Wanting companionship, wanting association, wanting community, wanting friendship is a healthy, necessary human need. There is no two ways about it. As a human being, there is that inherent need, not just for company, but for physical touch and for physical affection. We all need it. It is that desire that most of us express in desiring to get married. The point is getting married the only way to fulfill that desire? It's something you got to think about. It's a question that we must ask. Because, of course, when we don't receive this physical touch, this affection on a regular basis, what that does is that the fact that we are single, the fact that we are alone, becomes greatly amplified. But I've looked at it. You don't have to get married to enjoy the benefits of physical touch. You don't have to get married to enjoy the benefits of physical affection. You don't have to. Unless you rewind, you adjust your thinking and your mindset to understand that you don't have to get married to have that kind of benefit. You will become desperate to get married. You become desperate to experience marriage. And there's no problem. At a certain age, you want to get married. But the point here is your objective, your motivation, the reason you want to get married need to be clearly defined. Your expectations. One of the biggest challenges in marriage is unfulfilled expectations. So you need to look at your expectations when you're going into marriage, because some of the things we think marriage will fix or solve for us, marriage is not designed to solve them. That is why there's a lot of disillusionment in marriage, dissatisfaction and frustration. And so when our sense of singleness becomes amplified, it is at that point that many of us get into trouble, because some of the things we do are less than smart choices. Some of us, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, go back to an ex. How in the world will you go back to somebody that said you are not good enough? Now, how in the world would you go back to somebody that said you were trash, somebody that treated you with the utmost disdain, abandoned you, ridiculed you, somebody that gave up on you, and now you are going back to them? In some cases, it is even unfortunate that you are even the person that walked out of that relationship because you thought it was not good enough. Now you're going back to it because you can't stand being alone. The truth is that it's a product of emotional imbalance, psychological imbalance, mental imbalance. Something is fundamentally wrong, and you need to work on it. If you don't work on it, you're going to mess up a lot of things. Some of us, our reaction will be, we go out there and have a one-night stand. You run into people, you've never known them before, you don't know their core values, you don't know their belief system, and then meeting somebody for the first time and you're having sex with them just to satisfy your desire for company. You don't have to do that. For some of us, our reaction is that we want to just accept a proposal. We don't want to just accept a relationship, even when we know that we're not compatible with this person. We get involved with them. Sad. And then we just repeat cycles of heartbreak, cycles of pain, cycles of grief, cycles of rejection and dejection. Trust me. You don't want to do that. And if you keep doing that, it means that you are not emotionally stable for marriage. You're not psychologically, mentally, spiritually, socially stable for marriage. It's okay that you listen to the previous videos to get a balance to some of these things. We must come to terms with the fact that some of these things you desire, you can get them. It doesn't have to be in a marital or dating or heterosexual setting. You don't have to do that. No, you don't have to do that. So 2 principles you want to take home is that it is important, number 1, to realize that in these moments of loneliness, you can still receive care. You can still receive affection from other settings. You can receive care and affection from family. You can receive care and affection from friends, for crying out loud. That's why I can't handle the fact that people celebrate the fact that I don't have friends. What did that help? People celebrate the fact that, no, I don't have no friend. I don't have no friend. I have only one friend. And that one friend is in XYZ. I don't know. Listen, not having friends is not an advantage. Nobody gives anybody an award for not having friends. That one friend messed up with you does not mean you can't have other friends. A lot of us have a lot of trust issues. A lot of us have a lot of poor development socially. Being conservative, being introverted is not an excuse. Okay, if you don't have friends, you have family. I'm amazed at families where no physical touch, no physical contact, no affection in my family. As you walk in from outside, as you return from the day's activity, oftentimes you're welcomed with a hug. While in the house, children walk up to me and they want a hug. I walk up to my own kids. I want to be hugged. You have no idea how much stability, how much conditioning that those little hugs, those cheek-to-cheek hugs, those pecks, you have no idea. In a safe setting, in a family setting, in the setting of friends with whom you have core values and boundaries are clearly defined, you have no idea how powerful it can be to condition you and stabilize you to keep doing life. You don't want to do that. And then you hug your daughter and she's like, wow, I just needed this. I just needed this to calm me down. Wow, you have no idea what that means. That is what we display lavishly in my own setting. But in a lot of African homes, in a lot of our kind of homes, that's far-fetched. That's not going to happen. And it is the reason why our daughters, our children, our sons go out there in search of these things and then get into the wrong hands. It is the reason why, because most of us never got it from our parents, never get it, our children never get it from us. It's the reason why a lot of us think that the only way you can have physical affection and contact is until you are in an heterosexual relationship. It is the reason why 16-year-olds are dating, 17-year-olds are dating, 13-year-olds are dating, and getting damaged and injured by the day, heartbroken, and all kinds of things are going on. Friends, we don't have to be in a marital setting to overcome loneliness. If we maximize all that heaven, all that life, all that God has placed at our disposal. I believe that a good hug from a friend, a good hug from family can go an incredibly long way in making you feel cared for. So why not ask for it? Why not go for it? Why not break protocols and go for a hug? Ask for a hug. Look for one if you need it. Make sure you have the right kind of people and influences around you. You don't want to do that. If you don't do this and intentionally get it when you need it, you will get to a point where you become destabilized. You become disoriented. You can lose your balance and begin to misbehave. We asked the question on the platform, have you ever been so lonely and you did something stupid? All kinds of things were reported. Someone in class said something told her, as especially that kind of extreme comes when you just, it's a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old relationship just collapses. Listen, whenever you experience a failed or broken relationship, your sense of being alone is going to be amplified exponentially. It's going to be amplified in geometric proportion. It's going to be amplified incredibly. That if you are not intentional with what I just shared, you're going to do stupid things. Something told her, that's a rat poison. What are you waiting for? You go take it. And she took it. Thank God she survived it. That girl must have an amazing destiny to fulfill to survive it. Not many people survive it. She took a poison, but she survived it. Some people say they cry themselves to sleep. Some people say they do all kinds of things. But there was one lady that profoundly said when she found herself in that kind of situation, she made sure every day she goes to work, the clothes she needed for work the next day, she carried them along. Because from work, she must go to a friend's place. She must go to the other friend's place who had an understanding of what she was dealing with. They kept her company, gave her the encouragement, the support that she needed to be able to deal with that. So if you don't go out there and ask for a hug, ask for friends, if you don't surround yourself with a community for reinforcement to fall back on, you are going to unnecessarily expose yourself to a sense of loneliness, and you may not believe what it is that you can do. Stupid things can come out of it. And so it's so important that you intentionally fight loneliness. Loneliness, you can feel it when it's coming, that sense of loneliness. You don't watch yourself cave into loneliness. First of all, understand that it's a state of mental, emotional illness, disease. So once you understand that, no, this what's coming is not okay, you want to be intentional. Put yourself in a social environment that helps you deal with it. Like I said, you don't want to jeopardize, you don't want to endanger yourself in the name of looking for affection and touch. That is why you want to already have intentionally surrounded yourself with a community in which you are safe, where you can be yourself, you can say how you feel, you can share what you're dealing with, and they can come around and help you. Please be intentional in developing friendship, developing relationship, developing a social support unit that can change the narrative for you. As soon as you master loneliness and master the art of aloneness, trust me, you're truly single and you're ready for marriage. Thank you so much. I hope you got value from this. I'll see you again in my subsequent broadcast. We'll look at the next challenge that you're going to deal with just because you're single. Thank you.